Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the update for yesterday, which was Friday, the 19th of June, here in 2026. So, um, we are all going to play along on this video, and I'm going to pretend that I didn't actually just film the one for the previous day, like an hour earlier, in a different shirt and in a different location within my apartment. Because of course, I don't do stuff like that when I get behind on these. So, that being said, the day that we're talking about, June the 19th, I did work in the accounting office. And this was the first day of this new system in which we didn't have a trainer or somebody there with us. All right. And which means it was definitely not your normal day. First off, started at 4:30 and worked 4:30 to 1:30 rather than the standard 5 to 2. Um, this was suggested as to there was a certain they've changed the order that we address certain things in this new system, and we were suggested starting a little bit earlier for a bit to give us more time to get to a certain point where we before everybody else all the other people in the store started showing up and wanting stuff. So started that, and it just so happened, and probably the easy one way to think about this is that in terms of what it would have been like on a normal day, this would have been a day that if this transition hadn't happened, I would be saying that, God, this is a long accounting day. We received a bunch of lottery tickets, and that took forever. And then there were a couple of errors, and we had to find that. That it was that kind of a day. But it just so happened to be buried under an entire new, all the layers of a new system. And so, one thing, it's tough to get frustrated or annoyed about, God, this is kind of a BS day when you're doing the entire infrastructure for the first time, and so you're not quite sure what normal feels like, and then you get to the end of it, and you're like, I actually rolled a tough day today too, but was so bogged down in figuring out what I'm actually supposed to be doing that turns out I had a tough day as well, and I'm I'm going to be having some new Lotto content um, because of this whole transition. I can definitely see that coming. As a matter of the process for if a bunch of lottery shows up actually got longer on this new system. The most of the stuff from what I'm seeing is actually most of the procedures are quicker and smoother and more integrated now than they used to be, which is obviously the point of all of this. Is this something that is supposed to be streamlining things to produce us being available to be out on the floor more often and less time in here doing things behind the scenes? Frankly, they'd be silly if it wasn't. Not to say that I'm any great shakes or anything or whatever something they'd like to have on the floor, more so than anybody else or anything. Definitely don't want to say that. But it's like, are they trying to automate things that happen behind the scenes so you spend more time out on the floor? Yeah, like I said, it wouldn't make sense if they didn't. So, of course, that's the final goal here. And I think it's going to be successful in that, which ultimately is a positive when you're looking at it from a company standpoint. Yes, absolutely. Although when you're first rolling something out, you know it's going to be a slog, and of course it was a slog, and so there we go. But all in all, once this gets rolling, I think that we're going to be in a place where the amount of frustrating accounting days will diminish. And the number of, oh my god, I spent 7 hours doing this when they want me to do it in 5, those type of days, I think are numbered as well. Or at least their numbers will be much fewer than there are now, which, again, can't complain about that. So, anyway, it was a day. And honestly, there's also another layer in this as well. And that the first day of this, well, the first 2 days of this, without a trainer being there watching, happened to be on my days. As again, this is a Friday, and I'm typically doing this on Friday. And so basically, I was kind of forging the path for both the lead and the backups that that are there when we're not there. And so also basically I was working with the system and seeing what was going on and creating a bunch of notes so that God only knows if before if God only knows that myself or the leader, it's not basically if there has to be some kind of absence by somebody, and someone who is not familiar with this has to jump in, getting some notes and things prepared so that would not be a complete and total disaster. And so actually, and the next day would end up putting quite a bit of effort into that as well. And as I'm recording this, which again is later in the evening on the 20th, actually feeling quite good about where we are with that right now. Did I get anything wrong? Yes. And again, this is one of those things that unless you're familiar with the particular system I'm referring to, this is not going to make a whole lot of sense to you. Overall, made it like 4 hours without having to contact the trainer who gave us our contact, with what am I doing wrong type of questions. And so I was quite proud of myself for that. That being said, when the time did come, it was something that happened that I caught at the end, that stemmed back to a misunderstanding of something that we did fairly close to the beginning, where I only saw the outcome at the very end and had to be like, oh god, I think we might have done something we didn't need to do. That being said, the trainer and those people were super quick about being able to figure it out and reverse it. And also, I feel good because apparently I was like one of the very first to make this particular error. So, like I said, blaze a trail, right? Anyway, but all in all, good day. Obviously, you leave there and your head is full. Oh goodness gracious. But then I'm like 40 minutes before the end of my day, and that is when I get a ping on my email, not my work email, but my personal. And it was the email that I was looking for a couple of days, and it was the answer regarding this lease issue that I was alluding to in the last couple of updates. And that was when I got the notification that the lease issue fixing was approved. Yes. Which, took a lot of the nervousness and whatnot out of this entire living situation. And, having the possibility that you might get kicked out, or not kicked out, but having to move, kind of put a damper on this whole, renovation thing, because, it's like, maybe this is all futile and I'm going to have to, get kicked out or whatever in a few months. Nope, not going to happen. We're good. And now with that renovation, let's go. We're going to be a lot of stuff to show you here in the next few weeks. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Have a good